Morning, everybody. It's 8:11 a.m. It's July 17th. It's Thursday. Every day I'm saying something crazy, right? Yesterday I was live in my community and fireworks yesterday with those rumors of Fed Chair Powell getting fired. First, it was like we heard Trump's going to get fired, and then it sounded like he's connecting with his party to fire Powell, and then that just sent the markets lower. And then all of a sudden he goes, "I'm not going to do anything," and then it sent the markets back. We wound up hitting very key levels on daily charts, which daily charts and the futures charts got a bunch of big confluence, and I got a nice Microsoft long that I was stalking in the morning. I wanted to long that early, but then I just waited patiently and got my entry, and I put it in my Discord of why I took it. And then my target got hit when Trump basically was like, "I'm not going to do anything," and ripped the market, ripped, and basically crazy day. Basically crazy day. All right. Now today, good morning, Chief. Now today, what do we have? Right. We had this morning Taiwan Semiconductors beat earnings. Okay. That was pushing the markets up. The markets pulled back a little bit now recently. Okay. We also had PepsiCo earnings this morning. They actually surprisingly beat, and they're starting to rip. I'm an owner of Pep, ticker PEP. And again, no financial advice here. I'm just been owning that for a while, but buying it as it went down. It has a nice dividend. All right, so hopefully, if you ever look at that chart of PepsiCo, that thing has been basing for a while, broke out, pulled back. Now it's gonna possibly make a nice move. Don't know where. Right? What else do we have? We have a lot of Fed speak today. We have Netflix earnings after the close. Netflix earnings. Okay, and if you look at Netflix, it's been pulling back. It's not having a run up priced before earnings. It's actually pulled back. So interesting to see what Netflix does. Maybe one day Netflix will split. It's pretty frothy price there, 12.50, 12.50. I remember when that thing dropped. I don't remember exactly to what price, but I know it was pretty low in 2022. It was pretty low. Okay. Um, what else is happening? I know this new ticker. I know Chief probably knows it. I added to my list. It is ticker. What is that ticker here? CRCL? Circle. I know that's going to be in conjunction with the USD stablecoin, I believe. So I put that on my charts. Um, Along added some like core weave and stuff like that just to see what they're doing on my charts. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market volume profile to find structure in the markets because structure is king. Okay. Along with gamma exposure level, supply and demand, and VPOCs, volume point of controls. I call them the most traded prices of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. It all helps me form a game plan. I also use anchor VWAPs. Okay? Any place in time, you can set an anchor VWAP and see what the market has done from that point in time. Okay, I also use my bread and butter, my market internals. Okay, so they help me know what's going on under the hood of the market, right? And the market can't outperform its internals, so it gives a pretty good read on what the market's capable of during the day. All right, and you can see me talk about that in detail in my Discord every morning. Okay. Now, hopefully, you guys join me every day. I give you the news, the scoops, right? Story of the markets. The markets are there. to scare you to think the market's going to drop and then the faces get ripped off like yesterday. And you just got to be patient. Okay? Now, in my feed every day, I give you that market news, the economic calendar, earnings calendar, the leaders and the laggards, right? Why the market's doing what it's doing. We go into a lot of technical analysis. And then I move on and I give you the NASDAQ and ES futures analysis. Okay, using market profile, volume profile. Now, when I give you that analysis, I just want to make sure everybody understands why do I give you the NASDAQ and the ES, right? So lately, okay, I chart a bunch of stocks, okay? Gamma levels, the whole nine. Trend lines, I do everything. Volume profile analysis. And like I said recently, I've been very laser focused on the NASDAQ and the ES, SPY and QQQ. Okay? And sometimes I notice, I'm not really liking how they're moving some days. And sometimes I would still force myself to just be in that little box. Well, recently, I said, why am I doing that? When I know I charted these stocks, I know how these stocks move, I know the key levels, why don't I start looking at a stock which can move independently? And that's what I've been doing lately. I didn't put this in my trades the other day because I wasn't really involved because I had to take my daughter to the doctor. So I've recently had a long in Google that was very successful. I had a long in Meta that was on Tuesday that was successful. I had a long in Microsoft that was successful yesterday. So what I look for is relative strength if I'm going to go long. Gamma levels, all of that. And Microsoft was holding. It's been in an uptrend. And I marked it up on my Discord. Okay, so if I show you my Discord, this is my Discord, right? So I put in here, here's my trades. Everyone long Microsoft 502.54, right? Scale out, stop, break even, hit target, all out, right? And then I gave you the reasons, right, why I took it right here. All right, Microsoft long, and I actually mentioned it earlier, right before I took the long. I said Microsoft, I was eyeing a long and didn't enter. That would have been a trade, nothing to do here yet, right? And then boom, Microsoft long, 156% return. Reason I took it long, it was relatively strong. Bullish daily chart, reclaimed negative gamma level, right? Was reclaimed 502.5. Then I entered, which was worth the risk and stop at low a day. SPY and QQQ hit major levels. QQQ last month's highs, SPY last week's lows. NASDAQ hit 228.30 bull bear line. This level I mentioned every day in the pre-market video. Okay, so if you see the charts here, I'm showing you here the uptrend, right? The 9 EMA daily, the last month's highs. Look at the wick, right? This was yesterday's chart, right? There's my entry, right there. Right there, my entry. Negative gamma level, previous day's lows. Boom, nailed it. Okay. And this was the key levels in the daily charts of the Qs, right? Support, daily low, and look, we came right here. Okay. Look at the SPY, last week's lows to the tick, last week's lows. All right. There's that 228.30, the high volume node, composite high volume node in the NASDAQ futures. It came down. Look at that. Boom. So now the reason I'm saying this is twofold, right? Twofold. One, hopefully you can join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Okay, I'm probably going to go live again today. I was live yesterday. The reason I'm saying this is not only for my Discord, is why I got long-winded here, but I just wanted to show you that trade. The reason I chart the NASDAQ and the ES futures is because that will still drive what I do in a stock. Okay? Because you want to go with the flow. I want to long Microsoft when those key levels get hit in the SPY, QQQ, the ES, and NQ. I still want to long them because they all work back and forth with each other, right? Someone buys Microsoft, that's a highly market cap heavy stock, right? That's going to move the Nasdaq and the SPY, right? Someone buys QQQ, someone buys the SPY, that's going to move Microsoft. So that's why I still chart them for you guys, because if you're going to trade a stock, especially a heavy mega cap stock, you want to go with the market. Now, if you're trying to trade some small cap, some penny stock, right, that is not going to matter. Okay. Enough of that soliloquy. We are going to move on. All right. We're going to move on to the futures. Boom. Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, feel free. All right. I'm going to say this. Join my Discord. Okay. I see you join. I'll see you join. Okay. Whoever's listening. I don't know who's listening. Okay. If you, I see a decent amount of views on my, maybe not when I'm live, but afterwards. If you want a stock to be analyzed, join my Discord, and then you can say hi or whatever. And then you can, if you're live with me, put it in the chat right now, and I'll analyze it at the end of the stream. Any stock, put it in the chat. I will analyze it. Join my Discord first, and then put it here, and I'll analyze it. Or join my Discord if you don't have time, if you watch it back, and put it in the community chat what stock you want analyzed, and we'll do it live. I might even do your gamma levels, and I'll do soup to nuts. All right. So I'm putting that out there. All right. But however, join my Discord first. That's the what I need you to do. Okay, and subscribe. Now, I'm getting long-winded today. All right. Let's look at this. Ethereum. Ethereum's up 1.27%. The VIX is up 1.11%. Crude's up 1%. 10-year yield's up 0.5%. Dollar's up 0.36. Nasdaq's flat. Silver's flat. ES flat. Dow is down 0.23. 30-year bonds being sold, down 0.28. Russell down 0.49. Gold down 0.4. Gold down 0.77. Bitcoin is down 1.42. 1.42. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus. All right, there we go. Let me take this. Hold on. Let me just take this off here. Anybody wants to know how to do this in your watch list, you hit Control Spacebar, and you can mark a row. All right. All right, here we go. GE reported earnings. They beat. They're up 1.14. All right, Nvidia up 0.72. TSM earnings is definitely not going to hurt semis, but semis aren't killing it this morning. Believe it or not, they're not killing it. Tesla up 0.61. Netflix before earnings is up 0.54. Broadcom up 0.48. AMD up 0.26. AMD is a beast. AMD is a beast. Meta up 0.23. Apple up 0.16. Amazon, pretty much flat, coin flat. Let's see. Laggards. Really, the only laggard today is Google. Down 0.48. Down 0.48. Google's had a nice little move as of late. All right. Now, top sector stocks. Let's go to it. PepsiCo up 3%. They surprisingly had decent earnings. Laggards, Goldman Sachs, but we'll just concentrate on the PepsiCo. Let's go to my swing trade list is granular. Let's see. Taiwan Semiconductors at the top of that list, like I just talked about. Unity Software was strong yesterday. Look at these. ARM, Trade Desk. Okay. Who's lagging real quick? Abbott Labs. Micron. Union Pacific. That's industrial. Allstate. I saw Progressive Insurance get a downgrade, I believe. So that's that. It's a little more granular. Moving on. Sectors. Semis up 0.20. Industrials up 0.06. Nothing really to see here, really. Financials down 0.13, and your laggard is healthcare. Abbott Labs is probably responsible for that. Okay. Now, we are moving on. We're going to go to our economic calendar. Economic calendar. What do we got today? Retail sales, export, import, initial jobless claims hasn't really moved the market lately. Retail sales. Yeah, blah blah blah. 10 a.m. Business inventories. NHEB housing market index. And we got a bunch of Fed speak today that's not here. Maybe that's a 1 star. Let's see. No, interesting. I saw there's Fed speak on the juice, so we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Let's go there now. Let's go there now. So today we have Fed Kugler, Fed Daily, White House press briefing at 1 o'clock. Stay away from the markets at 1 o'clock. Fed Cook speaks. Fed Waller speaks. All right. There's nothing really in the juice to talk about. Let's go to some stock news here. Netflix stock rose 0.9 ahead of the release of the latest earnings. All right. Taiwan Semiconductors, as I talked about, stock rose 2.4. The world's biggest contract chip maker reported record profit. PepsiCo stock rose 2.1 after the soft drinks giant reported core profit for the second quarter. Topped estimates. United Airlines stock fell 1.4 after the carrier said it expects its earnings to suffer. GE Aerospace stock rose 1% after the aerospace giant posted second quarter results that exceed expectations. Elevance Health stock slumped 1% after the health insurance provider's second quarter earnings and full year guidance missed expectations. All right, moving on. More news. Let's see here that I didn't talk about here. United Airlines. Oh, here we go. This affects that Circle stock. U.S. House agrees to consider crypto legislation a big win for the digital asset industry. The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives cleared key procedural hurdles on crypto legislation on Wednesday, a day after Donald Trump intervened to say the initiative paving the way for the first federal law for digital assets. Okay. EU stalls probe into Musk X amid U.S. trade talks. Anything else here? Anything else? Nope. Let's look at our upgrades, downgrades. Maybe this list is updated. I'm sorry. We got cars.com. Got an upgrade. We have Mondelez. Mondelez. I believe that's a beer, a beverage. All right. I believe they can have Corona. Downgrades. Downgrades. Let's look at this. Progressive Insurance. That's what I was talking about. Progressive Insurance. So Sympathy Play Allstate. All right. Starbucks. Downgrade. Shake Shack. Downgrade. Okay. Moving on. Let's move on to the breath. That's not breath. All right. We made a little recovery a little bit yesterday. 53% of the stocks are over the 20-day simple moving average. That is in the middle. In the middle. That makes sense. The market's in balance. That's in the middle. No shocker there. No shocker there. All right. We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on, folks. Let's get to those market internals real quick. We'll recap those market internals. You know those are my bread and butters. Real quick. Earnings. All we care about, Netflix. Netflix. Okay. All right. Let's go to those market internals now. We'll recap that. Okay. What did we do with those internals yesterday? Market was weak. Got weaker. Right about here. Then just started to trend back when Trump said he's not going to do anything. All right. You can see green, the top three sectors. Communications, Meta had a little bit of a bloodbath a little bit yesterday. Okay, Meta. Healthcare was strong.
Large buy.
Whoa. I don't know if you heard my UK girl there. Large buy. That's 285 lots at 6303.75 in my new Superdome. All right, in my new Superdome. All right. Big lot right there. Now, probably because news just dropped 8:30 a.m. All right. Now, let's look at these internals. So basically, I just actually told you about them. All right. Not much to see here in this chart. Okay. This is your market internals recap. This is pretty self-explanatory what happened there. It was news driven yesterday. Okay, that was news driven. Right. Very news driven. Now, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to dailies. There's not a lot to see here either. What I've been talking about. What have I been talking about, right? With these daily charts is balance, right? We're in a range. We're in a range. Okay. Remember, I made that script. Okay. Expected move for the week. Green is the expected high. Red is the expected low. You can see it right here. The range expected for this week. What is 613.68 to the downside, 63.56 to the upside. Okay. From the close, this black line of last Friday. That's the expected move, and we're inside the expected move. Okay. And we're just in a range. All right, so let's reset this. Okay. We're in a range. Look at that. Boop, 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 boop. And what did we do yesterday? Oh, we hit last week's lows. And we got bought. And where did we go? Back in the middle of range. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Okay, where are we now? 624.20. We're right at yesterday's close. We're flat. All right, so let's look at futures. Let's get a little closer. Look. Right there in the middle of the balance. Look at that. Well, how many days is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days that we haven't done anything. 10 days. You know what that means? Huge move coming. Huge move coming. Okay. Moving on. Qs. So range broke out, failed. What do we do? Whenever you look above and fail, you go back to the other side of balance, and then you got bought right here. Okay. Doji candle. 557.90. That's where we're at now. 557.90. So you are right. Let's move into this move. 55.7. Right above last week's highs. All right. Taiwan Semiconductors. That news is pretty good. Remember, Taiwan Semiconductors is not heavy market cap weighted, but Nvidia is. Okay. Broadcom is. So they're up. So moving on. Futures. Futures. Look at that in the NASDAQ. Look at that balance range. Woo-hoo-hoo. There's last week's highs. See, we just crossed it and then went under it. So, did we break out today? I don't know. We have to see. We have to see. Okay. Now, let's go to that bond market, that squirrely bond market, that triple-headed monster. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And it's just garbage. It is garbage. That bond market does not know what it wants. It's just garbage. And I think I put this up, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we're going to the dollar. The dollar. Ooh, the dollar. Remember, I've been talking about that dollar. Broke out of that channel. Broke out of this downtrend. Right? Now, what do? Ooh, big resistance, 99.37 in that dollar. Big time resistance. We're hitting the 50-day moving average right here. Interesting. Right? Interesting. The play for that, you could do a Forex pair, the USD Euro. You can do the Euro futures. That's /6E. You could short the Euro, right? UUP, ticker UUP. That's stock for the dollar. It's all the things you could do, all right? Now, that's your dollar. Let's look at that VIX, that third head. That's 30 days out, and we're just ranging here. Ranging, right? Ranging. Look at that. Ooh, we went all the way up to a 19.49 yesterday. Boom, right back down. Right? Boom, right back down. All right, moving on. Hourly charts. Let's look at these. There's not much to see here either. I'll make it brief. All right, we'll make it brief. All right, here's your ES. Let me get my marker out. Okay, so bottom line, right? What did we do yesterday? just a few points here. So in futures, where do we come down to? Right? A couple things to note here. I'm a big proponent of the volume profile. Okay. So if we look here, look at this high volume node here. Boop. See where this came? Remember, walls, magnets. What is also this right here? That's last week's lows. 62.46.25 in futures. What else was there? Because I'm called confluence trading, right? So if I take this back, show you this. From this low, right there, that's an anchored VWAP. Look at this thing. Ding, 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 ding. Boom. See it hit that anchor VWAP? It was the first test of that anchor VWAP. Boom. Bounced. That's confluence. That's confluence. That's the name of my trading Discord. Confluence trading. There's your high volume node. There's your demand zone. There's last week's lows. There's the anchored VWAP from this buying. All right? Pretty cool. Okay? When you have multiple things line up like that, guess what you do? You go long on Microsoft, just like I did. Okay? You go long Microsoft. So now, let's look at the ES here. All right? We got 63.03 is your ultimate balance. It's the most traded price of the month. It's your most traded price of the week. Here. Okay? 62.70 was very important as well yesterday. Notice the high volume node. Notice, yes, we took it out. But what did we do here? When we took it out, came back, look what happened. We retested it right there, and that was it. Boop. That's what those levels matter. Okay? Structure is king. Little price actions, right, are just there to just make the big structure, right? But you have to focus on structure, right? Focus on structure. All right, so we have demand here, right? So what do we want to do today? 63.03. You want to hold that level, okay? You want to hold that level. And if you're talking about balance rules, because you go from balance highs bound to lows, to the highs, to the lows, to the highs, to the lows. Now, what do you think we do? Right? My bias is long. So I know that we're having problems right here at this level, 63.10. That's a naked VPOC right there. And look, we're making a nice little move. What do I want to see? I just want to see us hold the 63.03. And then guess that this resistance is going to happen. Boom, hold it. You're going to go back to balance highs. Of course, if you fail, hit your head, we could fall. Okay, that's your ES. Let's go to the NASDAQ. We have confluence there as well. Of course we do. Of course we do. All right, so the confluence here was demand zone, right? That's the monster level I've been talking about. 22830. You see that where that price went right to? Right there. Okay, right there. Now, I did throw an anchor VWAP on this candle right here. So I want to see the market. This is represents buyers from that point. Okay? From when Trump said, I'm not doing nothing. Right? Look at the relative strength in the structure of the NASDAQ. It's pretty nice, right? It's pretty nice. So, what do I want to see today? Right? Well, your 230 level. Now, my boy Documents saw the power of the 230 yesterday. If you're looking at intraday price action, this thing was a monster. Okay? It was a beast. It was a monster level. Okay? Now, that's your bull bear line, folks. That's your bull bear line. So, we're pushing up again, right? There's a lot of overhead supply here. Big supply zone here. Big supply zone. You have last week's highs. That's where we are right now. Last week's highs, right? So I'm expecting to have some problems here, up here. So what would I say? Well, you go up here. Yeah, I can expect maybe a correction down to here, and maybe you go like that, or maybe you go a little deeper. As long as you hold 230, even if you did this, oop, you're gonna do this. Below here, holding is no good. You're gonna test that 22830 again. But I don't know, right? Hold this level, you gotta be bullish. All right, moving on. Moving on. Hope hope everybody's still there, not falling asleep. I'm giving you golden nuggets. Giving you golden nuggets, folks. Let's go over to the market profile. I'm not sure if Chief's still there. She's very busy. Let's see here. We're going to the market profile, divine profile now. Maybe Document's not here today. Maybe he's not here today. Let's look. Let's look. First thing we do is we check that profile. Okay. First thing we do is we check that profile. What is it telling us? Bounce. Got a nice bell curve, beautiful bell curve. Beautiful bell curve. Right? Where's price? Right inside value. Okay? Right inside value. That monster ultimate bounce level, 6303. We're right there. No surprise there. No surprise that our price is right there. Okay? At all. No surprise. No, no, no. All right? Now, let's look at this together. Big demand zone here. Okay? So I honestly got to mark this off. That's your ultimate balance level. And we're going to go down to the overnight lows. You have month to date VWAP support here as well. Okay? Now, you got a confluence high here. Got a
Large sell.
large sell order. You hear that? Interesting. 63.11 to 63.13. That is a major pivot level. Okay? So we're going to mark this off, the overnight highs, with this level. That would be your breakout level. Okay? That's going to be your breakout level. We're almost gapping up. Almost. But you see this incomplete profile? It's on a bell curve. I expect to get excess here. Maybe it doesn't happen in your overnight. I believe it will, though. Okay? I believe it will. Now we have overhead supply. And this overhead supply, right here, contains a big level here, 63.43. That's confluence high. The market could rip, woo, and really run if it breaks that level. That encompasses last week's highs, 63.35. Okay, 63.35. Now we do have another important level here. I'm going to mark off like this, 62.70, and the most traded price of yesterday. You don't want to lose that. Okay? Now, let's break out the profile and get right into scenario. Boom. We're going to move it back a little bit. We're going to move it back a little bit. Why did that say ES supply? Anyway, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do the scenarios. Let's go with green. Let's go bull. Look at that incomplete profile. Boy, this is begging to get broke right here. Okay, that's 63.1150. That is begging to be broken. So, if I want to get long, we all know 63.03 is the monster level. All right, hold it. You got to be bullish. Below it, I don't say bearish, but it's not fully a win for the bulls. Now, what would I love to see? Well, if the overnight high gets broken, which I believe it will, and we knock into this supply, this could give an opportunity to get a little liquidity from the longs and test the most traded price of the overnight, which happens to be the most traded price of the month of the week. That's our monster level. This is also demand. And you might get a nice, beautiful bounce with some higher lows. Lower highs, I'm sorry. Higher lows, lower highs. No, higher lows. And break that, right? If you come back, get out of here. And then this is not going to be easy. in this area, but if you clear this high volume node, notice the profile is thinner up here, then you have a chance to really break the 63.41 resistance. Now, we're in balance, okay? We are going to break out eventually. We are in ultimate balance. So a big move is upon us, folks. Why do you think the move was so big here? That was because you came from ultimate balance. The most people in the last month, in the last week, have traded 63.03. That's the most pain there. Oh, up away from it or down away from it is going to be a big, big move. Moving on. Actually, did I give you all the scenarios? Yeah. All right, there's one. Number two, this has to be quick. If we did this and recovered it, that's pretty good too. If we did this really quickly, this has to be quick. All right, I'm not a fan of it. You don't want to spend time underneath 63.03. But if you did that again, boom, long. All right, that's all. That's it. All right, let's go with the bear. Boop. Okay, so what do we need to see? We have overhead supply, and this is our balance highs. So remember, when you're in a range and you're in balance, you kind of like you don't want to fix something that ain't broke, right? Or it ain't broke until you fix something like this. Some saying like that. I didn't get a lot of sleep, so my sayings are off. Now, if you're thinking short, if I'm thinking short, I need to see the internals in parity. I don't want to see any strength, okay? And we just rip up here, let's say, to last week's highs. Let's say we make a new all-time high. And let's say we get a nice wick, boop, and then you start getting some lower highs, okay? What do you think people are going to do that were long at the balance lows? Probably start taking some profits, and maybe you get the move back to ultimate balance. If you rip through ultimate balance, maybe you start to go back. I don't know if this full move would happen. That's probably one of the things. Now, the other thing that could happen is you could take out, right? That's number one. Right now, you could take out this big resistance, right? That's 6311. Then tap supply. Now, what if we did this? We ripped through ultimate balance. What I would like to see is you take out this demand, retest it. If you can't go over it, you start to find acceptance here. You could really drop. Take out first target, probably 6270, and see if you could take out yesterday's lows. That's it, folks, for the ES. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, here we go. NASDAQ. All right, let's look at that profile. Remember, NASDAQ structurally stronger. Look at that. Woo. Structurally stronger. Got a couple distributions, multiple distributions here in your NASDAQ. Okay. We're holding the major 230 level. You got the confluence low here. Overnight high. Right there. I mean, overnight lows. With your monster level. Now, right here, it says poor high, which means you have a double top. In your overnight, that should be corrected. Okay. 231.51 should be corrected, meaning should be broken. Okay? Should be broken. We are gapping up in the NASDAQ futures. Okay? In futures, you don't use prior closes. You use highs and lows. They're called range gaps. You do not use closes as gaps. Okay? Gaps are not meant by the prior day's close in futures. They're range gaps. Okay? That's not a rule made by me. That's a rule made by Peter Resnicek, the godfather of profile. One of them is Jim Dalton. Another guy, Josh Schuler from Trade Profile. All same thing. Convergence trading, Futures Trader 71. That's how gaps are in futures. That's not the rule I made. That's the rule that all those guys who use prime profile, market profile for way many years than me have put that into place. Okay, so here's our gap fill right here. I believe that's 231. Okay, we're going to mark that off. We can mark off the close as well here. We're going to mark off there's a big demand zone. There's a lot of buying here. See, this is what I'm saying. You got to be bullish bias right now. Okay, this is all buy opportunities. Okay, we are in supply. We did hit a naked VPOC, an untested most traded price of a day. Okay, most traded price of the overnight is up in the session. Okay, up in the session. Now we have overhead supply here. Big supply zone. Big supply zone. And we have a major confluence high here at 23222 right there. That's a real-time trading hours. That's an overnight. That's a breakout level. That's a breakout level. All right. And we have our demand down here with that 22830 monster level, which is right here. All right, let's move scenarios. Scenarios. Whoop. All right. Let's start it, folks. Not who's still with me here. I'm not even sure the last time Chief actually watched. She's on the run. She usually probably is listening to it in her car on her phone. I'm not sure how she watches or if she watches, really. Let's go to longs. So my rule is I don't long a supply. Okay? I don't long it. Oh, look at this. This was a supply zone that's already gone. So I got to get rid of this. Now there's a new supply zone. Demand zone right here. Okay? So let's talk about this poor high. It's probably going to get broken. I don't know right now, but it probably will. We're in supply, so I would not long in here at all. Okay? So what would I look for? This is last week's highs right there. All right, so what would I look for? I would look for to break that high. You're in supply, high volume node right here. I would expect the market to come back, attempt to fill that gap. Okay, you can get a perfect gap fill and take off and break out. Remember, ultimate balance is 230. Remember, we came off the balance lows. The way the market works is once you hit balance lows, you go to balance highs. Now, is this a breakout? I don't know. That is a picture perfect setup. Doesn't always work like that though. So what else can we do? We could push down a little more into range. And we hit the close of yesterday. Okay, in this demand zone. Boop. As well. And we got 230 here. Boop. Right to the overnight lows. Now, the market could scare you and do a bear trap. So it's perfect if we do that. Right? Or we do this and this. Under here, yeah, that's not good. Okay, that is not good. So that's all I want to talk about as far as the longs. As far as shorts go, let's talk about it. We are in supply now. We are in supply. We're gapping up, right? I want to see how we react up here in this supply zone. Okay, so one, we could come up, come through, get some lower highs, come through that most traded price of the overnight, test that support right there in that demand zone 230.74. That's yesterday's close. I would probably scale out some, see if we can hit the 230. Right now, this is gravy. After 230 is you would go boop, find acceptance test, and then we could find ourselves going back to bounce lows. Okay, because this is balance area highs. Okay, actually this is the breakout period that we failed, but this is pretty much up here. And see this high volume node here? That's why we're stopping there. So, like I said, I am definitely bias long. But if I see some weakness in the market and we can't go higher, balance highs, I really would have to think about a short. Alrighty. All right, that's the analysis. I don't think I'm really going to talk about too many shorts. Obviously, if we do this, let me just say this. Let's just say we rip and then we just find ourselves holding, 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 well, then I'm probably going to wait for a test and then boop, okay? And let's say your trade starts there. I don't know what's going to happen today, folks. I never know. I never know. Okay? I never, ever know. All right. That's it, folks. That is all for today. Please, please smash the like button if you enjoyed that. All right. And as always, if you want to join me, hit subscribe, set an alert, give you the market story every day, have a cup of coffee, water, or tea, and listen to the market story from your boy. All right. And I give you market news, economic calendar, earnings calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and of course, I just gave you the NASDAQ and the ES futures, long and short scenarios that everybody can use. Okay. So we got our plan. Now, if you want an in depth plan, you want me to commentate the market to you and me be your indicator, what are you going to do? You're going to join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Okay? Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link. I should probably go live today. All right? I offered this earlier. Subscribe to my YouTube. Let me know what stock you want analyzed in the chat. Join my Discord in the community chat. Tell me a stock you want me to analyze. I'll run gamma levels on it. We'll do a bunch of crap to it. Okay? It'll be fun. And just the prerequisite is subscribing and joining the Discord. All right? And we'll do it together. All right? Everybody have a great day. All right? If I see you in my Discord, that would be awesome. If I don't see you there, I'll see you guys tomorrow.